What's up? My name's Lacey. I'm the owner and founder of Rainbow Parrot Art, and today I'm joining you from my studio, aka living room, and I'm going to be showing you how to paint flamingos. 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 This project is based on original artwork by my 14-year-old niece, Mera. Thank you, Mera, for the inspiration. The materials we're going to be using for this project are listed in the description below with links. You may want to create a couple thumbnail sketches to practice laying out your composition. I'm putting my hand at the bottom of my canvas, and about 4 fingers width, I'm going to draw my beach line. Around the center of my canvas, I'm going to draw a medium-sized circle for the flamingo body. If you divide my painting into thirds, the top third of my picture is going to be sky. So I'm going to draw the horizon line right there. I'm going to end up redoing my flamingo in a minute, so I'm going to go kind of fast right here. Let's talk about legs and shadows. Notice how I'm doing one straight leg and one leg is slightly bent at an angle. This is very typical of flamingos. I'm going to create the outline of a shadow moving in the opposite direction of the sun. In the upper corners, I'm penciling in the outline of palm branches. I'm going to end up painting over these pencil marks for the palm branches anyway, but I think it's nice to get a sense of where they're going to be. After I'm done painting my sky, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of wing it and paint my palm branches on top of the sky. Notice how I'm making the shoreline a little bit curved. See how it dips down there a little bit in the center? Notice here how I've moved my sun up higher than it is in my niece's painting on the right. It's really just a matter of personal preference. Okay, here's where I decide that I'm totally unhappy with my flamingo head. Now, what I decide I want to do differently is I want the head to be right above the body. So I'm going to move the head over slightly to the right. Okay, there we go. That's better. Now I'm adjusting the neck to match, adding a nice long curved beak at the front of the head. High-speed flamingo drawing replay! I'm not really sure why I did that. Okay, so here is what the basic composition of my painting is going to look like. I'm looking at my niece's painting on the right, and I'm going to try to choose similar colors. So right now I'm going through my paint and I'm just adding whichever colors match the colors that she's used. And I might need to mix a couple of colors. For that light sandy brown color, I recommend taking some white paint and adding just a tiny bit of brown to it. You may also want to add a little bit of yellow. To create the color for the water, I recommend taking turquoise and mixing it with green, or just taking green and adding a tiny bit of blue. Or you might choose to use totally different colors, and that's great too. Before I start painting, I'm going to cover my flamingo in masking tape. I'm going to do this by tearing small pieces of tape and just kind of patching them onto my flamingo. This will make it so I can paint my background without covering over my flamingo drawing. Another option you have would be to paint your background first, and then once your background is dry, draw your flamingo on top of it. The reason I don't like to do this is because you have to wait for the paint to dry, and if you make any mistakes, it's hard to erase pencil marks on top of dry paint. Now I'm going to use my 1-inch flat brush and take some of that darker blue color and paint it across my sky. Notice how I avoided the general area where I'm going to be putting my sun. While your blue paint is still wet, try taking a little bit of white paint and mixing it into your sky. I'm loving this green color. Now I'm gonna take that 1-inch flat brush and paint my water. Don't worry if you paint over your flamingo legs. While this green paint is still wet, I'm taking little bits of white paint and blending it in. I'm going to do this with yellow as well, and it's going to look like sunlight reflecting on the water. Now that I'm done painting my water and sky, I'm going to peel off that tape on my flamingo. I'm using that 1-inch flat brush to paint my beach that light brown color. I'm going to take some white paint and paint along the edge of the shore and do kind of circular motions. I decided to go back and add some more white to my water to lighten it. I'm gonna slow down here for a moment so you can see how I'm painting my waves on the shore. While my beach is still wet, I'm adding little bits of white. This creates more depth and it looks cool. For my sun, I'm going to start with a big circular blob of yellow. I'm going to paint pointy yellow rays extending from my sun. Here, I'm deciding to just go for it and paint my rays going all the way down and through the water. Now I'm going to blend some white into my sun and into the rays of the sun. You can totally do this however you want, by the way. If there's a different way you want to paint your sun, go for it. Use your imagination. At long last, it is time to paint our flamingo, aka the coolest animal ever. If I had never seen a flamingo, I don't even think I would believe that they were real. That's how cool they are. Okay, so make sure you're using a tiny brush when you do this. I'm going to paint the whole flamingo that bright pink color, and then I'm going to go back and add white highlights. Let's look at a couple images of flamingo beaks. Notice how they're black at the tip and then they're either white or light pink up at the top. You're going to want to use the tiniest brush you have for this part. For the eye, you can either do a black dot or you can do a black dot with a little white dot inside of it. You may have noticed I've added a birthday hat to my flamingo. I'm going to paint it light gray for now and then I'll add colorful polka dots later. I can no longer see the lines I drew for my legs, but it doesn't really matter. They're pretty easy. You're going to want to use the tiniest brush you have for these legs. Start out by making them as thin as you can, and then you can go back and very gradually thicken them. If you want to add depth, you can add some tiny white highlights to the right side of your legs. If you decide to add a shadow for your flamingo, create the shadow moving in the opposite direction of the sun. I'm painting the shadow with a medium brown color. I've painted my shadow right up to my legs, and now I'm going to add this tiny little white ring between the shadow and the legs. If this feels super technical, don't worry about this part. Your flamingo will look awesome even without a shadow. Okay, we're going to paint the palm branches next, but wait! Before we continue, I thought now would be a good time to introduce today's Weirdness Challenge. Weirdness Challenge! For today's Weirdness Challenge, I'd like to invite you to make up a word. Words have to come from somewhere, so why not from you? Okay, here we go. Schlapsurf. Plappy snaka. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite things to do. How ha. Blag flag boom. Chaligak. Lap oof. Sak sheephof. Wawa. Mickey poof. Ingolak shoy. Egil slack, Kuju plop, papahoon, Konog, Twineplurf, Lagdun log log, Snarp, Waggy shadog, Tessie toe shop. See if you can formulate an entire sentence with made-up words. Yowie wa ni go wa. Before you know it, you might have an entire language that only you can understand. And they slingo bati shu and sikapat high and I steal. For added fun, get someone to be your translator and try to guess whatever it is you're saying. Or use subtitles. I still know what I steal and I explain this and I skin and I swing it all stiba banit car. Movie clock to bali to tongue. Saituma är siwatuan är det watkinner är strumira still honeda är ovela haristuna hum. Okay, I could probably honestly do this all day. So in the interest of time, I'm gonna wind things down here and I'll include some extra outtakes at the end of the video. Let's get back to our painting. You can paint your palm branches right on top of your sky. Using the tiniest brush I have, I'm painting long, thin, curved brown lines for the stems of my palms. I'm going to paint curved, narrow green lines extending from the palm stems. For added depth, I'm also painting streaks that are brown and light green. I'm going to repeat this on the left side using alternating colors of dark brown, dark green, and light yellowish green. Now that I'm done with my painting, I'm going to glue a pom-pom on my birthday hat. You can use a glue gun or Elmer's glue for this. Or you can skip this step entirely. If you don't have a pom-pom laying around, you can take a small square of tissue paper and roll it into a ball, and it'll look like a pom-pom. It's finished! Da-da-da-da! I teach super fun live online art workshops for kids as well as for adults. You can find out more information by visiting my website, rainbowparrotart.com. You can support this work by subscribing to this channel as well as clicking the little bell icon so you'll get notifications when new videos come out. And you can like this video. Okay, as promised, here are some outtakes from today's Weirdness Challenge. Neisha du kom mi stika patita. En synefade kale på en styrning tula stedeko e fade stedstun og pasti til kvartidla kistun alle styrkompi kale I kilistu bakete anestu kominikast kwa eller styrganes dumbe estito atua at kalika ane bekolikest quadis to rotwa and his current flowers to pisto. Digit quantitista? Guest varis lingo tak. A studio behind wesigu poop lacta. Mito calife at silo qua nina student. I know scared out of this laser I know scroll on it all. Labitula wakitum watsafa. That's all. Thanks for joining and be sure to check out my other videos.